Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Black Ass Conversations. I am your host, Dr. H, the Global Mentor Coach, and I am joined by the fabulous Paula Nicole Good. We are waiting on Trey Amazing. He's running a little bit late tonight, but we're excited about tonight's topic. I know I am. I've been chomping at the bit pretty much all week, because I was like, "Ooh, baby, y'all." As Jeff would say, y'all social media philosophers been going crazy about black masculinity for real.
Absolutely.
Need to talk about it because it don't make no sense. It's just absolutely ridiculous what everybody's talking about. Oh, my buddy is joining us tonight. Y'all, we got a good one. Horace Towns is in the house tonight.
Yes. I'm coming out of one studio into another. How you doing? I didn't want to hear your mouth tonight. I'm here.
I was gonna let you slide. I understand. But I figured that tonight's topic was going to be one that you would definitely enjoy. And so y'all, we got the Horace Towns back with us tonight. And I think that this is a great topic. It's very timely. We got everybody that's got from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook to wherever else yet, TikTok. Folks is talking about black masculinity, in particular, that Jonathan Majors cover on Ebony for February. And baby, I don't have words to even express how ridiculous some of the comments have been. I mean, folks done gone over the edge. They done talk about how it's messing up the black family structure. And I mean, they done gone back to Reconstruction days and all kinds of foolishness. And it's been crazy. Like Twitter, I don't know. So tonight we gonna get into it on this here show. But we're gonna talk about it in just in context, really honestly, because I think that when it comes to black masculinity in particular, first of all, we talked about it when we first started the show, Horace. I don't know if you remember, we talked about how the whole concept of black men in particular are a fetish for a lot of people. So I think that in this cover in particular, it messes with people's fetish as it relates to black men. But I really want to get into this topic about black masculinity because it's absolutely ridiculous. And we need to kind of do a better job in talking about it. Hey Jeff, and really get into it because it's really, I don't know. I know it set me off, but I just was like, I'm not going to talk about it while it's hype. And I know that Ebony came out with a response. Actually, they did like a editorial piece about the cover and how everybody was doing these think pieces and how they were saying it says more about everybody else and what they think than about the cover. And we have Trey Amazing as soon as he has a screen. His camera comes on, but I think that it's important. So I want to get y'all in and y'all let me know like kind of what your thoughts. I'm going to start with Paula because you sent us in the group in the chat this whole IG post about toxic masculinity, and that was just crazy in itself. But and just looking at some of the comments and stuff, so let's just go on and dive into this conversation, y'all, because I think that is something that we really need to be talking about tonight.
Yes, I've seen a lot of interesting things online about toxic masculinity, but in that post specifically, the gentleman was just saying that toxic masculinity doesn't exist. And when he asked people about their definition of toxic masculinity, they give their definition of basically someone just having destructive ways. And, you all can picture what it means. But for him, he's like, that's not masculinity. Masculinity is an essence, and that absolutely is the absence of masculinity, not toxic masculinity. For me, it's like, it's a play on words.
Right.
There's masculinity, there's healthy masculinity. And I'm not one to say masculinity is just toxic, because there's some people who have said, masculinity is toxic, but there's definitions. There's healthy masculinity. And then to me, there is toxic masculinity. And I like to use that phrase toxic masculinity because those people who are being destructive, they believe that they're acting out of their masculinity. So for them, that's their definition of masculinity, but it is definitely toxic. And you can say it's the absence, and it is the absence of maturity, especially emotional maturity. It's the absence of leadership. It's the absence of being able to be balanced, and step into a comfort zone to know that no matter what's going on in your life, you're still that masculine, you're still that divine masculine that shows up in the world, and no one else can take that from you, based on what they say or what they do. So I think that we have to really become clear on the definition, and that there is a difference, and that there are lines.
Yeah, and Jeff has a point here that he asks if we can discuss the difference between alpha males and toxic masculinity. I think that there is a difference, in particular, because I think when we start talking about toxic masculinity, I don't think we're talking about alpha males. I think the difference between the two is you can be an alpha male and not be toxic. You know what I mean? To me, I think that there is a difference, because being an alpha male doesn't mean that you're toxic. It's every bit of what you just said in how you carry yourself. I think a lot of it has to do with your attitude, your body language, your tone, how you treat people, how you respond. I mean, the way folks been going, like on Twitter, this dude really went crazy on a post that this guy posted, really just about uplifting blackness and everything, and he just went crazy. And I was like, he just ripped into one particular female and her response. He just ripped into her like it was insane. And I was just like, this dude don't love himself at all, because all of this positivity, and your goal is to just tear into a black woman. She's uplifting other black folks in a post that's highlighting blackness. It was insane. And so I think that, as we talk about black masculinity in particular, I think it's important to also talk about why so many, especially in our community, feel threatened by other black men in particular, who appear to be, even whether it's more masculine or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I saw the cover and I actually read the article and watched the video, the vlog, that man didn't seem like he felt emasculated. He didn't seem like, he was effeminate in no way. Like, I didn't get that. And then Troy posted, he reposted a point on Facebook about how we grew up. If you grew up in listening to 70s music, the Isley Brothers and all that kind of stuff, Parliament Funkadelic, how they dressed. And they were masculine as the day is long and got babies and churns everywhere. They all wore the mid-dress shirts, bent stomach out, all of that. And to this day, when Ron Isley did that versus battle, y'all out here calling him Zaddy. But when you go back and look at some of his stuff that he used to, you know what I'm saying, that he used to watch back, that he used to wear back in the day, y'all still calling him Zaddy? I'm just confused. Like, are we picking and choosing, masculine, what's actually masculine? I'm just trying to figure out. So I want to get the fellas in the conversation. Welcome, Mr. Trey Mazing. Glad to have you join us. Horace, so what are your thoughts? I'm really interested in what you got to say, because I know you don't have anything close to what I just said.
Well, first off, good to see Trey Amazing on the cast, because they're going to need you to balance us out tonight, because we're probably going to be from two different extremes. It's all good. Thank you. Nice to meet you as well. But this is how we work on the old show. I'm a little unhinged. Trey's always the stable one at times. Sometimes we agree. Oftentimes we don't, but it's always respectful. I think the whole issue right now, or the backlash, is for men. Most average men is a traumatic response.
Yeah.
Right now, most men, my everyday guys, feel like there's an agenda against men and masculinity. And then when we take it to media, or we take it to posts, it's disregarded. And people say, oh, there's no such thing. I actually have a friend that we debated on the show who's like, that's not true. So then men feel like we weren't talking, now we're talking, now we're being our issues, our concerns are just being dismissed.
Right.
So that's the thing. And I think that, I don't know who said this, one of the shows, Black men are in a space, we do have this divide, between men and women for various reasons. But a lot of men also feel like Black women embrace gay men more than they embrace traditional men. Whether it's valid or not, that is something, some of the concerns that we have on some of the shows that we do. And I think even the thing with the alpha male versus toxic, I think toxic masculinity is a thing.
Right.
On my cast, we disagree about it, but I think it's a thing. I think everything has an extreme to it. And some of it, the toxic masculinity is when I feel like there's no one to take accountability for extreme views. I feel like when it's uncompromising and there's no forgiveness for action. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to be. And I have no regard for how you feel.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of the issues. And again, whether they're valid or not, I think we have to respect how I feel, how this person feels, how that person feels. And in the meantime, respectfully disagree to agree, but
Yeah.
have the dialogue. And I think that's what's not happening.
I agree. I think that, I mean, I appreciate that. I didn't, I'm very surprised by that, Horace. I expected you to kind of go completely left on me, but you didn't.
Trey's here today.
You done grown up. I know what's happening over there on the Black Super Friends.
Splendid.
If y'all don't know, Horace has a show Monday nights at 9 o'clock on Facebook called the Black Super Friends. But no, I appreciate that perspective because I do think that, I mean, I'm not a Black man, so but I do feel that there is an attack against Black men, and I personally, as a Black woman, would love to get to the heart of why there is an attack on Black men, or why, in particular, Black men, hearing from Black men, why you all feel that way, and what has led to this attack against Black men. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fetish. I think it has to do with, something that Horace pointed out when we first started the show about, just a plot, kind of a scheme to tear down the Black family structure, obviously for other reasons. But I do think that it definitely appears to be like there is an attack on Black men, but why? You know what I mean? Like what it's got to be more than just one agenda. I do think there's multiple things going on. But Trey, I want to hear from you, what your thoughts are. And Jeff, I'm going to get to your comment too, because I think that's important as well. But Trey, what are your thoughts in particular about, just this overall conversation about Black masculinity, in particular, just kind of the attack against Black manhood and what it means to be actually a masculine man?
I think it's trippy. I really am agreeing a lot with what Horace said. I really was prepared and lacing up my gloves thinking that I was going to disagree with him, but I actually agree with a good chunk of what he said. I said on the last podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, I do not think that masculinity in and of itself is toxic. I think it's two different things. Just like you have toxic masculinity, you have toxic femininity, but masculinity in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's a great
Right.
thing. I think masculinity and femininity are two things we have to, as a people, encourage that symbiotic relationship. These are masculinity and femininity need one another. These are two
Yeah.
forces that need one another, that balance out one another. So when people talk about toxic masculinity, I think they're talking about when you take masculinity and you weaponize it, or you use it in a way to, I guess, marginalize someone else while building yourself up, or something like that. And I've said I've had my own personal experiences with toxic masculinity. Like I said, it's nothing wrong, masculinity, older men instructing, guiding, teaching younger men how to be grown men, how to be men. That's what's needed. That's important
Yeah.
in every community, in every culture, in every group, doesn't matter. But when you start taking these same ideals and values and beliefs that you are indoctrinating young men, and these same values and beliefs can potentially hurt them, put them in jail,
Yeah.
kill them, make them sick. That's when it gets a little toxic. Or when you take these values and beliefs to use them to degrade women, put women down, or control women, or use masculinity as a way to further subjugate women. And women are already, particularly Black women, are already marginalized enough. And then
Right.
when you go and you take something that is supposed to be of extreme high value, like masculinity, and now you want to take it and contort it in a way to build yourself up, putting women down, regardless, putting them down physically, emotionally, psychologically, whatever the case may be, and you're trying to stand that and say this is what masculinity is, I'm gonna call you toxic. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's toxic as fuck, and
Right.
nothing beneficial, healthy, or advantageous about that kind of mindset. So I do agree. A lot of people feel like when you say toxic masculinity, you're falling into the agenda. Do I agree? Do I believe there's agenda? I wouldn't be surprised if there was. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know who the author of it is, but at the end of the day, would you be surprised with the country we live in and the tracker? Would you be surprised
Right.
if there was an agenda? So, do I agree there's an agenda? I would strongly believe more than disagree. I would believe that there is some type of attack on masculinity, but the people who um, maybe this may concern them. I need them to know that masculinity is not here to harm or hurt. It's here to help. It's
Right.
here to balance things out. So, but when masculinity gets to the point where it is hurting, then you have to look at the potential like this may be toxic. Because
Right.
again, telling or instructing young men to participate in behaviors that could, you know, ultimately get them hurt or killed or someplace not good, that's when you're getting kind of toxic. And like I
Yeah.
said, I certainly have been the beneficiary of toxic male behavior, and I've been instructed to do things. I've been told and programmed with values by some that I know in retrospect, I'm like, that was kind of toxic, telling
Yeah.
me I have to do
Mm-hmm.
A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z, because that's what real men do. And I'm like, in retrospect, I'm like, that's not a good thing. Back then,
Yeah.
I may have thought that was a good thing. Back then in the 90s, when you're growing up, you're in high school and college, every guy wants to be a pimp. Every guy wants to be a player. Every guy
Yeah.
wants to be known as the man. And, I've had older men, I've had frat brothers, I've had a lot of men like, yeah, this is what a real man is. Real man sleeps with multiple women.
Yeah.
Real man has more than one girlfriend. This is what real men do. Real men can control, more than one woman at a time. I've actually had men tell me that. I'm like, okay, that's at the time you may agree with it when late teens, early 20s, but you get to a certain point, you get grown. Like that's not a good thing. That's not a good way to be as a man and your treatment of women.
Right. I think that
Absolutely.
also lends to a point that I believe that we're definitely in a time, and Jeff says this all the time, and I agree with him about how sensitive we are in such a hypersensitive climate, especially with social media, and everybody feel like they got to weigh in on stuff, and you're entitled. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think that because everything is so hypersensitive and hypersexual that people are seeing things through these lenses of whatever they feel or whatever they're thinking at the moment, rather than clarity of thought to think, okay, let me just stop for a moment and get out of all of this and look at it from a rational perspective and not through my feelings or through the feelings of everybody on social media, because now we're in groupthink. And it's just like that's what this hyper sensitive, hyper, sexual environment is creating, is just a bunch of groupthink, and nobody is really thinking for themselves. And if you are standing alone and thinking for yourself and outside of something else, it's like, oh, now you are alone, or you don't align with everybody else, so now we got to tear you down, when really maybe that person is the rational one, because they're not seeing it through this tinted lens, this colored lens of hyper everything. But I'm looking at everything as it is, as it should be from a rational perspective. But I think that it doesn't help that this is the climate we're in. So how do we navigate that, Horace?
Got a question for Trey.
Yeah.
And I respect him saying he doesn't know if there's an agenda, right? But I'm always still militant in the aspect to know that we don't use the word white supremacy enough to understand that keeping the black family off track is a real thing. The
Yes.
moment we unite, the system falls. One of
Hmm.
the most prosperous things in this country is black failure.
Yeah.
And we find ways to be divided more than we find ways to unite. So to that point, we do have a lot of stuff. So I do personally feel like there's an agenda, and in the media, I think we embrace the media. And I just told someone on a show the other week that I think our emotions and our ignorance is also used against us because we respond emotionally. But
Mm-hmm.
at what point do we start to plan, organize, and come up with some solutions? For because it seems like we're repeating a lot of stuff, and that's what bothers me. I got into it last week with somebody about about something. I won't even call the attorney name, but in a room full of people, I'm like, enough is enough. Like
Yeah.
at some point, what's our plan? Because we're repeating, people keep getting killed. We're giving out checks, but we don't have a solution. Let me be the
Right.
a-hole to say this.
Right.
What is our plan? And so I shook up the room in that sense. But I do think it's an agenda. And this is where you're going to put your gloves on because Trey is a little more emotionally intelligent or sensitive than I am. When Essence gave out that award for courage to Gabrielle and D Wade, I wish I could have drove my truck to the courage. You gave courage, like that we push courage. I just think there's so much we could be really focusing on. I just leave it there, bro. All the stuff we got going on, courage, man. Boy, I would not smoke me a cigar. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, at least you didn't. At least you won't like them Cowboys fans and tear up your TV. But
Miss Good, you're not familiar with me. This is my behavior. I'm sorry. I was just at the TV like courage. Like the stuff that we
honestly, I didn't know
rewarding is
what
just
award they
throwing
got.
around.
I just saw the award speech, but I didn't know which category they got it for or anything
I
like
didn't
that.
pay
I
it. I
thought they got
wasn't
it for
paying
like
attention.
activism or something.
I
Correct.
didn't pay attention. I shared a post this week. I shared on my timeline. Um, D Wade and Gabby, their daughter officially changed gender and changed everything, changed name, all that stuff. I shared. I was like, okay, I didn't have a reaction to it. Maybe my reaction was more shocked than anything. But I was just like, okay, well, do you?
That's their
Um,
house.
it's not my job. It's not my job to barge into every household and tell people how to run their house or their family. I'm like, I just felt it was very interesting. But no, Horace, I'm not really disagreeing with you. I got to be honest. I'm not. I don't really think you're saying anything that I feel that I disagree with. I think you're on point. Um, the only reason why I even made that comment about the agenda work because I almost feel like I do agree with Dr. H. There is hypersensitivity out there in a major way. I do think some people are genuinely triggered. And you have other people who are cloud chasing who are going to use this or use certain opportunities, to attack something or demonize or vilify something for views or social media cloud or something. Because again, I do think there are a lot of people out there who are just opportunists.
Mm-hmm.
Find some kind of way to raise hell about an issue one way
Right.
or another, and the best way to do it is to be extreme.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
again, like I said, as far as what Horace was saying, as far as the word agenda, or if there is an agenda, I'm not totally disagreeing with the fact that there is some level of attack. I just try to be, as much as I'm kind of shell shocked and kind of burnt out with social media, and every year we get new social media viral terms that just go crazy because I put the word agenda in the same bucket with vibe and energy and
Yeah.
alpha and beta male and feminine energy and all these different terms that we come up with on social media every year. Then the
Yeah.
next year they go away. So it seemed like it got to a point where everything was an agenda. And I'm like, okay, is it an agenda or is it just you? Now, but again, with everything, with the track record that this country has, yes, there are multiple ways that the government and other entities are attacking the black household. So I think that's understood. And I
Yeah.
think a united black household is a first stand, the first vanguard of revolution.
Yeah.
Um, so masculinity as well as femininity, I think these are two forces that need to be protected. You know, just everything we got, grit and everything. We have to protect the masculinity. I know it wasn't on the call at the very end. I'm pretty sure you guys talked about the Jonathan Majors, Ebony
Yeah.
magazine cover. Um, you know, of course, you have people like Dr. Umar that chimed in, and you know, Dr. Umar, he rips black people up, you know, more than anybody. He tears down black men and black women, you know, in the sake of revolution. I'm like, dude, you're anyway. I could say something else about
It's the
that.
hoteps for me. Listen,
You
it be
know,
the
hotep,
hoteps for me.
them hoteps sometimes don't realize y'all. I'm like, y'all doing just as much harm that y'all are good and don't realize it. But
Right.
anyway, um, it didn't bother me because at the end of the day, I'm like Jonathan Majors. I presume he signed up for that photo shoot. I presume they told him what he'd be wearing, and he had a choice. He's not a broke dude. He could have said no. He could have
I,
turned
I
it down.
I think it was more about artistic expression and creative expression as it related
Right.
to February and love and romance and stuff like that. But I do want to get Paula in on the conversation because I want to hear her perspective. But I understand. To me, I saw it as creative and artistic expression. I didn't see it as him
100%.
being effeminate or emasculated. And again, like I said in the beginning, you know, when you read the article and look at the video, the vlogs that went along with it, there was nothing about it that he didn't feel or seem like he was emasculated or felt, you know, a lot of virility came forward, especially in his responses. And so to me, I saw it as creative artistic expression. Is no different than like Winston Duke and some of his photo shoots and things that he does that he has input on. They have input on this stuff. So it's creative and artistic expression. To me, it's just like a piece of art. Some people
That's
appreciate more
exactly
art
how I
than
feel.
others. And so it is what it is. You can't say on the one hand you want a masculine man that's romantic and compassionate and understanding. Well, what does that look like? Because it looked like that. It looked like everything that was in there. So you can't say you want that, but then on the other hand, you want this. Because really, what y'all describing is that toxic masculinity foolishness. That's not really what you want. Like you say you want this, but then when you get it, it's like, oh, that's too girly for me. Well, what do you want? What does it look like? You want somebody to
Like
bash your head in and I don't understand it, but I want to get Paula in on this
it don't
because
take much. It does not
right,
take
it's
much.
just it's
And
like the math ain't mathing on some of what y'all saying.
Well, I quit. I want Paul to chime in, but I do want to say that's why I quit a long time ago. I quit. You're not going to make everybody happy. I'm
Right.
one man. There is no way I can be from head to toe that's going to satisfy and please 100% of women out there, all of whom have different values, beliefs on what a man and masculinity is. Like, look, I'm gonna be me. If you're down with it, if you kick it with me, cool. If I'm not your cup of tea or if you're a shot of gin, it's all good too. Keep it moving. You'll find someone else. I'll find somebody else. But again, you can't. As one man, I can't make every woman happy.
Right.
You know, and I quit trying a long time ago.
Right. Paula, get in on this, girl.
So when it comes to Jonathan Majors, my understanding as far as his creative expression is he was dressing as his favorite anime character. And when I saw the pictures, it's like, yeah, he kind of nailed it. And I'm not into anime to understand that character, but I've seen pictures. So, and then just reading about, you know, that I'm just like, oh, well, he's just doing his thing. What's the difference between that and cosplay or I don't know if I'm saying it right. But, you know, dressing up as your favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
But then I do want to touch on the agenda thing. And I read this post last week and it just had me thinking. So I don't know if you all are familiar with Grant Cardone. He's a marketer. And he came out and he basically said that when he realized a lot of his base were men, Black men around 25 to 30 or 20 to 25. And so what he wanted to do was increase that. And they came up with marketing trends. And what they did is they used, forgive me, I'm just trying to remember everything. It just popped into my mind, but not using big words, using hip hop, just using certain things that would attract. And at first it's like, oh my God, are you serious? You're saying this out loud. But here's the thing, it works.
Yes.
And
Target marketing.
Good
right.
marketing.
So I'm like,
Brilliant.
this man is a genius with marketing, and he did something that worked. My problem, yeah, okay, he kind of is, about the data, and he's just looking at Black people as data, but he did something that worked. And my problem is the fact that it worked. And why is it working? So when we talk about agenda, if there's this agenda that's here, is it working, and why is it working? And that's where we have to look at us. We have to look at us and our culture as to why can other people, whether it be the media, white supremacy, a marketer who's trying to, increase his billions, why are they able to capitalize off of us? Why are they able to do these things? So before we start pointing the finger at other people, we really have to come together to say, why is someone like Grant Cardone able to come up with a marketing plan off of Black men a certain age and basically dumb us down and actually make money off of it and be successful and feel comfortable enough to talk about it?
Right.
Ahead,
no, I'm not. No, you're making a point because it's target marketing, but it goes back to what Horace said earlier about the agenda when it comes to Black ignorance being really the money making for this company. That capitalism in this country has always been off of Blackness. I don't care if it's the enslavement of Black people, free labor. I don't care if it's off of it. Like, we spend money in places. Isaac Hayes the third. I think he's the third. I don't think he's junior, but anyway, he posted. He's the third, right? Okay, so I don't know if y'all saw this video he posted last week, but he posted a video last week about these celebrities that wanted to shop in stores that would not give them no service. And they were determined to go from one luxury brand to another to demand that they take their money. I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't begging nobody to take my money. If you don't treat me right, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not gonna beg you to take my money. I don't care what the name of the label is. I'm not begging you to take my money, but it goes back to what Horace said. It's the ignorance. Because that's completely ignorant. Why are you begging somebody to take your money that they're showing you clearly that they don't want you in their store? Horace?
Because we've been so beat down mentally that our consumerism is tied to our self-worth. We're going to temporarily feel good. I'm going to validate through these practices. Look at me in the latest threads and whatnot. And I think that marketing was brilliant because in our ignorance, we're so welcoming to everything. That's why I always get offended when I hear people, somebody say something, they coming to the cookout. And I'm like, bruh, that cookout, you couldn't go to theirs, but
that part.
Yeah, the consumerism. And I think once we have to, at some point, do recognize our ignorance and do be open to say, like, we're really getting played. Hell, our spending power alone makes everybody rich. We're $1 trillion+ dollars.
Right.
So when I seen that aspect of them being rejected, and I'm gonna go, you gonna take my money? Oh my God, I was just
sir. I was like, are you serious? Like, I saw that and I was like,
did they say
in this universe? Because I'm not
celebrities did that, because whatever celebrities did that really need to be checked. Like, really need to be kidnapped.
That's who the hoteps need to talk to, not the rest of us.
No. Find whoever that Black person is. If you see them walking down the street, if you can rent a quick van, you need to go kidnap them, throw them in that van, take them to the Civil Rights Museum.
Drop squad.
Exactly.
I think that is the illusion of inclusion. I want to get to some of these questions because I think it's important, and but it's the illusion of not conclusion, but I meant inclusion, but it's the illusion of inclusion. But I want to get to this point. I think my mom asked a question earlier. I want to get to that because I do think that we see things through this lens as well. Do you think LGBTQIA plus legislation impacted the definition or perception of masculinity? I will say that I do believe that a lot of people are uncomfortable still, and they see things through that lens, and I think that contributes to the hypersensitivity that we're in. That's part of what I do. I think people are seeing things through that lens, and so now creative artistic expression, everything is seen through this lens of LGBTQ. Is it anti? Because people are afraid also to have a difference of opinion as it relates to that community, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have a different perspective as it relates to that, and if you don't see things through that lens, now again you're on the other side of the table, and now it's you're anti-gay. No, I just have a difference of opinion. I didn't find it this way. But if you see things through that lens all the time, rather than again taking a step back and away from all of these different perspectives and think for yourself and see things as just separate parts and analyze for yourself, I think that makes a difference. Do y'all, I mean, what do you guys think? Horace, I know you ready to chunk. Go ahead.
I want to salute the LGBTC, the alphabet people, all of that. On this, I'm not gay. You'll never see me at a march, but they understood the blueprint. Yes. America's all about money. Yeah. And I gotta give them that credit. Politically and money. Listen, right now you can say the N-word, but you can't say nothing about them. I do have a fence with how they try to recruit and mandate. The whole world gonna be gay at this point. But I'm saying how the money plays, right? The voting power. Yes. Yeah, when you got that kind of leverage, you can go in there and mandate stuff that you shouldn't be able to. And then you take us on our hand that's taking our money and throwing it out and not using that leverage.
Like you just happen to get $25 in the tax credit. So I'm just, yes. I mean,
we still working on civil rights, and people that came and jumped over us,
anti-hate bill,
all of that stuff. So I do think that politically they position themselves, put their people in office. Right. They're funded the PACs that they need to, and they're at the table, and we're still not at the table. So we're not, hell, they know y'all gonna vote Democrat no matter what. Right. And our agendas are going to be last, and we're going to still be there hopeful, talking about Jesus, we going to do it, and they pushing through their stuff like Bo Jackson running the sweep. So yeah. I got to give it to them. That's what they're doing.
Anybody else? No. Anybody else think that way about, any thoughts about the LGBTQIA laws and any impact on that and how it happens?
Don't be canceled. Don't be canceled.
Don't get canceled. Yeah.
Job.
That's true. No, honestly, but he's not wrong because if you have to listen, look at the dude. Now, the dude from Dilbert was crazy what he said. The owner, the dude. If you guys don't know, the guy, the creator of the Dilbert comic, if Mess Around and Find Out was a person this week, because there's one every week. It's him, because he just got dropped by everybody because he went on a racist rant, basically saying that black people are like a terrorist group, and white people need to stay away from black people. Wow. As if we got a choice in our skin color. He literally went on this rant.
He'll be back with a bigger deal.
Right. After 36, however long Dilbert been around, 30 something plus years, he got dropped by every newspaper, everything in print. Elon Musk then came to his side, and I'm like, sir, that's not a good look because Musk broke himself. But I think that in that, yes, you have freedom of expression, but I think that you have to be careful in particular of how you say things, because you're entitled to your opinion, but I think that when it becomes hate speech and it goes too far, you don't have a right to hate speech. You don't have a right to that. And I don't feel like there's a place anywhere for that on planet Earth, period. I don't care if you're in the US, anywhere else. But I do want to answer this question. Has the question of black masculinity risen only in the USA or other black nations as well? I do think so. I think so, especially I follow like BBC World News and stuff. I do see what's going on in Africa, especially when it comes to masculinity, LGBTQ and all that kind of stuff around the world. It's an issue. It really is an issue. And in other nations, it gets people get really violent.
Did y'all see that article? Not to cut you off.
Ahead,
I just posted. Did y'all see where America, and this what going back to my point, who's driving the car in America right now? America made a last final warning to Uganda, I believe, to accept LGBT rights in their country. And the president was like, we don't need your aid. We're straight. We're not going to adapt your Western ideology. But I'm saying America the audacity to be in a whole nother country trying to dictate certain things when there's wars going on that you're ignoring, but you're pushing hard for LGBT rights in another country. And they don't make the news because, the media is on, but I just thought the audacity of that. And then you're saying you're going to take away your aid from them. And the
Economic
owner.
buying power. And you're right back to what you said, Horace. It's economic buying power. If we think that this group of people only has money in the US, you're wrong. Their money you have to understand world economics and buying power. And as a people, if we understood as Black people, if we understood our buying power on a world scale, because Uganda, y'all do know Uganda's in Africa. Let's just be clear. Understand the agenda, what we're talking about here. What does Uganda have as a resource?
Everything.
So you got to look at on a system level. World economics is bigger than the United States of America. But why is it so important that the entire world accepts the vantage point or of this one community? So we're supposed to change historically at our foundation and what we believe as a nation to accommodate this, and this, when you got plenty of places on this earth that you can move to that's accepting of that. It's kind of like it to me, and I'm just going to be honest, y'all might cancel me, but it's just like trying to stop Putin and China. If you don't stop them, they'll bulldoze their way across the world, and then you're going to have a bigger problem, right? So why when is enough? When is territory enough? It's just like the Roman Empire. Enough was never enough until it imploded and collapsed, and then it was undone from inside. So I think that you got to start thinking beyond just your regular domicile and see the bigger picture. And I think that's part of what Horace is saying. You got to see the bigger picture. When it comes to Black masculinity, remember, at the beginning of the show, I said, first of all, Black men are a fetish. Black men and Black masculinity is a fetish. So outside of this, outside of my fetish, and I'm specifically talking about white women in particular, because this is not something I'm making up. We know that it is a fetish. We know this is not something we're making up. It's a fetish. Outside of that fetish, I'm comfortable with you inside of this. Black men and Black masculinity in a lot of groups in particular, when you step outside of that comfort of where they want you to be, you're a problem. And now we got to attack that because we want to push you back into this space where we can control you. Now I could be wrong, but I don't know. Trey, say something.
Geez, I don't know. It's not a whole lot. I just wanted to show up tonight and look pretty on camera.
You know what?
Trey thought he was gonna have a fight with me tonight.
Yeah. I don't. I could have left my gloves in the locker room. I don't really have a lot to disagree with, as far as what Horace saying, and even Dr. H, because I do agree that with any community or with any group, if you begin to transcend outside of those boundaries where people like to keep you, where they can control you, where they know where you are, where they can predict what you're doing, when you begin to realize those walls and begin to transcend over them or through them or whatever, people are going to get uncomfortable. People are going to feel like, okay, where are you going? You're not in your place. There is a such thing as people needing you to be in your quote unquote place.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then that's when the rest of the world gets afraid. That's when, you become radical. That's when you become a threat. You become, the minute you become, public enemy number one, because you don't look the way we expect you to look. You don't talk the way we expect you to look. You don't live where we expect you to live.
Yeah.
And so at that point, that's when you become a problem. That's when you start popping up on radars. And that's when, you need to start watching your back. Yeah. I don't have, for me, I don't take issue with LGBTQIA plus having laws to protect them, because at the end of the day, you, regardless of your sexual orientation or whatever you like to do, you need to have protection, and you shouldn't be vilified because, for something like that. Now, my issue is when so much attention is being placed in the legislation and bills that favor LGBTQIA plus,
At
but
the
when it comes,
expense of other people and other
yeah,
groups.
not only at the expense of money, time, even our lives. Now it is
Yeah.
to the point where you know LGBTQ community, when they speak up, people listen, people take notes, legislation is acted. But with us,
Mhm.
it's a different story.
Thank you.
It's racism doesn't exist,
Right.
or he was on fentanyl, or you know,
Asian
mas-
hate.
masculinity is extremely scary
Yeah.
to anybody and everybody who seeks to keep Black people in a certain box,
Yeah.
particularly
Yeah.
Black men, because we have seen, even in slavery, we've seen revolution, we've seen slave uprising, so they know the threat and power of Black men. Are if we upright when we rise,
Yeah. Yeah.
when we say enough is enough, because at the end of the day, it's like we can recreate another Amistad 2.0, you
Mm-hmm.
know, bigger ship, different weaponry. But we can do it again. But at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's like, how would we? And I'm not trying to sound like a hotep, but how can we maintain and sustain any kind of hope of Black unity when we're not on the same page as
Yeah.
far as what racism in? Is there an
Yeah.
attack on masculinity? We're not all on the same page, so we're all divided.
Right.
Then we're not really going anywhere. We're just our division, you know, is very profitable for everyone else involved,
Yeah,
particularly
the
those.
system fears Black unity. I've said
Oh
that for
yes,
years,
very much
and I
so.
think it's a big issue. And I agree with Ndaji Two Spirit. I hope I said that right. I like that he says masculinity is defined by us and what our community needs. I think that we do need to take control of our narrative as a people. I know that there's Black Love, the community Black Love that the two filmmakers started, and it's really exploded and expanded into a lot. But I do think that it is important for us to control our narrative. This is why this like Black ass conversation is important. This is why we need to have these conversations so we can start controlling the narrative as it relates to what does Black masculinity mean to us in the community, and take control of that narrative to its furthest good. You know what I mean? Whereas everybody is taking it a negative spin on it. How do we put a positive spin out? How do we control our narrative in spaces that, like Horace said, our dollars, we could collectively put our money together and it would not put a dent anywhere near where a lot of those other dollars are going to tear us down. And I'm not trying to be funny, but when BET sold out, they sold us as a community out, because look at the programming changed. No more AJ and Free. And see, I was on the 106 and Park before AJ. I was pre AJ and Free, you know what I'm saying? I was Donnie Simpson Video Soul before there was a, you know what I'm saying, like the
Showing
programming
your
on
age. You're
BET.
showing all ages.
Come on, I'm about to be 45
Yes.
on Monday. This is the anniversary of 45. But anyway, um the programming on BET before it got sold, even what we had Centric before it got sold. So, and you have to understand that, y'all, just because it says Black Entertainment, we don't own it no more. That got sold.
Yeah,
So, you
I'll
have to
admit
understand who's sitting in the rooms writing about you.
my
It's just
proud
like,
brother dropped the ball on that.
yeah, it's like who I don't know. I don't know if y'all saw on Twitter, there was this picture this guy posted about hip hop, and he was in a studio, and it was all of these marketing execs for this label. And he said, when it comes to hip hop and music, these are the people in the room that determine what hit the streets. Not one Black face around that table.
Mm-mm.
Not
Bam.
one Black face around that table, but hip hop.
Not even a
But
light
guess
skinned
who the
person.
artist was? The artist was a Black artist in there. They're playing their music to see what these executives decide to hit the street.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I've been
And
there.
Horace know, because Horace was a marketing executive for a record label. Horace know. So again, when it comes to the agenda, especially when it comes to the agenda against Black people and our community, you got to know what's at work and how they're leveraging back to target marketing against us. They're using I mean, it's just like TikTok. TikTok is for like 13-year-olds and stuff. So you got all these disappearing photos and all this stuff. It disappears for you, but guess who keeps on those pictures? That platform. What are they doing with all these pictures of these young kids?
Mm.
Because as a pedophile, guess what? I don't have to appeal to your parents no more to get close to you. I can just get on this app. And if you don't think pedophiles work for these companies, you don't think they work for Snapchat, you don't think they work in these industries, but that's another situation. But I'm just saying, understanding that the power and the money and how far this stuff is going and how it's why these types of conversations are important, because if we're not trying to control the narrative surrounding blackness, like Horace said, we don't like it's crazy. It's really crazy what's being championed. As I'm not trying to be funny, so many other black people, celebrities at the NAACP awards. And when you talk about courage, I didn't know that. I thought it was for activism, to be honest.
Let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
So, listen, I have no secret with me. So, even in music, y'all would talk about all the Jewish people in the room. So, I'll just tell you, gangster rap was pushed. Listen, we had people, bro, I remember, was it KRA? It's a lot of woke, conscious brothers, the book bag era, Trey, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That we denied and say it won't sell. Amazing message, good music.
Yeah.
Nah, we don't want that. That ain't fitting the agenda.
Because it's not
But
tearing us down.
right, but also, so when you say music wise, we not in the room. This is when I tell y'all politically, y'all not in the room. You know how many times I've been in a meeting with the president, the governor, the senator in Florida, all of them Republicans. I'm the only one in that room. So when everybody to my black Republicans, you got to understand how to play this game as well, because everybody else is Democrats. So to get anything pushed is bipartisan. So I've been in too many meetings being before me. Imagine how it was, but before then, you know how many meetings I've been in, and they talk so frankly to say, okay, so what does the black community want? And we not in the room. And you think they really gonna make something? You really think they're gonna give you something really impactful?
Right.
So we need to. That's why I said we also need to understand how to play this game that's being played against us as well.
I agree. I think that when we talk about black masculinity overall, I do think that a part of it is messaging and how we're presented. Look at how we are viewed in movies and television and how hard it is to get anything as it relates to black positivity. Looking like Black Panther, when the first Black Panther came out, it was such a fight. And the word was, you will never be able to make a successful a movie with all black cast. But Eddie Murphy did it with Coming to America, not Coming to America, but Boomerang. But think about it. I mean, and he was ahead of his time. It didn't gross $1 billion plus like Black Panther did worldwide, but he was ahead of his time because he proved that it could be done, and that there is an audience for it, and that we do want to see this type of positivity and fun and light and stuff. So when Black Panther came along with all this black excellence, great writing, we weren't playing the coon. We want all of these stereotypical things. It was like, oh, is that up? But when it hit that billion, it's like, okay, wait a minute, stand up. A billion plus worldwide. It's like, okay, wait a minute, now we got to take it seriously. But you should have been taking us seriously. We've been saying it. So I think that where we are, when I talk about us taking control of our narrative, we need to, especially those who got the money, need to collectively come together and start, back your own films and do what you need to do, because if you're waiting on white Hollywood, white Hollywood ain't finna give it to you. And record label, that's why so many artists are going independent, because guess what? They're seeing less of their money, using the traditional route. But then you also got to compromise. I mean, look at some of the artists who said that they weren't going to go that route. And I mean, For instance, Maya told her story about how they tried to blackball her because she wouldn't go a certain way and she didn't want her music to be demeaning and certain things like that. Like what you sell, you selling your soul or what you're gonna do? And I think that it's the same thing when we talk about Black masculinity. And again, back to like Jonathan Major's cover, that's artistic expression. If he's after a certain anime character, it's the same thing with Michael B. Jordan. He likes anime characters. He's big on that too. So you're gonna say that there's certain things he's done that is kind of like,
I got a
okay,
question.
you gonna question that? Like, do we question everything through this lens of hypersensitivity, or do we just take a step back and say we need to grow the hell up and focus as a
Got a question.
community? Let's get focused and get real about what's really going on, and not get distracted by hoteps, social media philosophers, mom and them that ain't got a degree from Adam. And I'm not saying that you need to have a degree, but you need to have an intelligent conversation, and you can't even back up what you're saying because you're repeating something that you saw on Wikipedia or on TikTok or somewhere that somebody is pushing a narrative because it's not, or some AI bot, because you arguing with a bot that's creating a narrative against you.
I got a question. I got a question. Two questions. What unpopular opinion? First of all, I did shows with Dr. Umar. Do I think he's very extreme at times? Yes. But question, I don't have to be 100% supporter, but I did feel a way about all the black wealth we have. I always say this: we have enough black wealth that we should have more sustainability.
Absolutely.
We got too many people popping bottles and flossing their wealth. I ain't gotta like brother,
Lies.
but people could have listen. Bro, that man could have raised the money for that school. I think, especially with the stuff going on with education, we have enough millionaires where if Trey said he wanted to do a school tomorrow, we can do a crowdfunding and get his brother the stuff he needs for a charter school. I believe in that.
Yeah.
That's what makes me angry about seeing some of the way we spend in ignorance. Second of all, I have a question. Do y'all think Tyler Perry would be his films would be so accessible to big theaters if he started to put out different type of projects?
No. Jeff already done said no. He has a formula that he subscribes to.
But is it hurting us?
And it works. But guess what? He got this big old thing. He got this big old studio and all that. And I think it's wonderful. I'm interested in following to see what other things come out of it besides his stuff.
Does he have any pro-black movies?
I'm interested in seeing what comes out of that studio besides his stuff.
It's a lot of land. It's a lot of.
It's huge. It's huge. It's like a city.
I love the brother, but can y'all name a movie that you would say, oh, that is the epitome of a black film that's great for family?
I think what was it? The Family Reunion, the last one that he did with Cicely Tyson and Maya Angelou, that one. I think that's it.
Well,
because the only reason I say that is because it actually highlighted domestic abuse, in family, and how as sometimes it's your own parent, you know what I'm saying, that gets you into those situations or whatever, for whatever the need and all that stuff. And it highlighted a lot of generational curses and how that things happen in family, and highlighting the importance of family reunion and ancestral lands and all that stuff. Outside of that, I'm saying that's the most positive to me.
Wait a minute. Only one problem with that movie. Why the Red brother had to be the hero? Should have been the reverse. Right? The Red brothers are really the ones.
I'm sick of you.
King Dog should have been the hero in that movie.
I'm sick of you. We're not finna do this light skin, black skin. We're not finna do this light skin, dark skin. We're not finna do it, okay? You're not gonna do it, okay? You're not gonna do it. Not today. But I'm just saying. But I think you raise a point. And again, I with someone like him, I think that it is important because he could do a lot for the black narrative, right? Just like Oprah could. Can we just let's just go there when it comes to our narrative and the conversation surrounding black, whether it's black masculinity or anything else. It's who's controlling the narrative, and it's people who have that power, that I'm gonna say authority, but they got the leverage. But if they spending money supporting the people who have a narrative that's very anti,
let me chime in as far as
Yeah.
black movies and hotel. Well, let me just say it because I my issue with hotels. I have no issue with anybody who's black,
Yeah.
who's conscious. I have no anybody who I'm all about black power, black consciousness, all that stuff. Um, my issue with being militant and hoteps. I know dudes out there they can find racism in a bowl of Cheerios. You know what I mean?
True.
That's when it gets to that point. You know, like I said,
It's too
teach
much.
teach
Yeah.
me, teach the youth, teach about black power, about black actors, about our history. I'm all for that. All for you being pro-black. I'm pro-black, but I can still live my life and not hate literally everything around me
Yeah.
that's not black and
That's
think
just miserable.
everything. You know what I mean? Like I've certainly had the experience. I know guys who blame white supremacy why they can't find a job, even though I'm like, dude, you constantly smoke weed. You don't beat the streets looking for a job. Your standards are too high.
Because of
You
the
don't
system.
you don't get you don't have enough education. You want a six-figure job and all you got is a this one. It's like everything for me. My issue with any hotep is not everything got to be so terrible and so racist. Yes, there's
Yeah.
racism, and we see racism. But damn, can I enjoy my cereal? Okay?
Not in
Yeah,
that white milk, my brother.
With that
right.
white girl.
Right. Damn. Okay. Shit.
Right.
Like,
Not have it.
I'm
Took the
like,
word right out of my mouth.
I'm like, can I wear this article of clothing and not be seen as self? You hate yourself because you wearing that Nike. When you take the Nike symbol and you turn it upside down, flip it around, it's a swastika. You anti. I'm like, nigga, I'm just playing basketball.
They said that about K Swiss though. I heard that about K Swiss.
Yeah.
They say about everything. So my whole thing is, and for me, and the reason why I bring up Dr. Umar, I feel like I would love to sit down with Dr. Umar. I would bring my Windex because that man is truly sitting in a house of glass.
Mhm.
Um, I have no problem with the initiatives of building a school for Black boys.
Yeah.
Um, I think that anybody else would have had the school built years ago. I think the reason it took him so long is because it's him. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't like him. If it were someone
Yeah.
else, he probably had the money back in 2014
Yeah.
when he wanted it.
I think sometimes some people are so aggressive that they're a turn off because at the end of the day, people aren't buying your vision, they're buying you, they're investing in you. And if they don't trust you, and to me, I don't find him trustworthy when it comes to finances. I mean, it is what it is. It's just like
I
what
don't find
came
him
out.
trustworthy on a lot of things.
Right. Well,
A lot of things I don't find
that
him
too.
trustworthy.
But it's just like what happened with D. Ray McKesson and some other people. There's what's that other activist that they were talking to, the light skinned guy that looked like he white. He
Oh,
was
Malcolm X.
Sean,
Sean, yeah, Sean. It was
Sean graduated with me from Moore. He and I were
yeah, so
like
some issues
he
with
was
him,
like that
Sean
always.
King,
Not
about
Malcolm
his
X.
and how he has dealt with finances and questioned how
Hmm.
people have questioned like, okay, you raised money about this and that, but that money didn't go towards what you said it was going to go for and all this other kind of stuff. So I think that again, once your credibility is gone, you know what I'm saying, like you better find you an Olivia Pope to fix it, sir.
Right.
Yeah, because again, I don't ever see myself being a rider for him or some of these other Ben X and the guy from the Nation of Islam, Nuri something. A lot of these other guys, I'm like, I
Uh-huh.
really follow them. Like I really, they teach him mad wisdom to like some good
Yeah,
education to Black people. I just think Umar is way too extreme, and he says that he contradicts himself and doesn't
I
even
don't think
realize
he
the
hears.
school.
He
At
don't hear.
the end of the day, again, and because I'm a dating commentator, that's the only reason I keep talking about this. The
Yeah,
school, the school is literally a contradiction to your stance on interracial marriage. It just
yeah,
is.
yeah,
You can't tell me different. You can't sit up here and tell me how interracial marriage and dating is so terrible, it's so bad and so detrimental to Black people, but you're building a school named after a man who's buried next to his white wife. You're building
Listen,
a, I'm like, to me, it don't make sense. The fact that you can be so pro-Black about marriage, about Black men and family, yet you knocking on 50, you ain't never been married. You got two girls and that you don't see, you don't support, by two women who are baby mamas, not wives, but baby mamas. So he's not in a position to talk to me about the black family or black marriage because he's not a great example himself.
Yeah.
Everybody else, like I said, black thought, black consciousness, pro-blackness, I'm with it.
Right.
Credibility, like you said, is extremely important.
Yeah.
Vital, because at the end of the day, it can determine your campaign. It can determine the lifeblood or whatever initiative you're working on. Like I said, for me, it was hard. This is a hard pill for me to swallow. I really was 100% all for Black Lives Matter, but then it kind of started going down when that staffer got caught with all that. Well, got caught embezzling, because that didn't help them at all. That when I saw that, because again, I'm not always a fan of Candace Owens, but when she pulled up to the house and was like, "Where the money at?" I'm like, "Yeah, where the money at?" I'm like, "Where is the money? Where George Floyd family could have used that money. Breonna Taylor's family could have used that money. So many people could have used all this money instead." And the excuse, the rationale was it was a workspace. I'm like, why is a $6 million mansion a workspace? I'm like, some of the other cheaper workspaces. I'm like, that was someone's home. That wasn't a workspace. Someone was living there. Someone was having sex in there. That's not a community workspace.
I think that people saw, like you say, Trey, lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, they got lured into that love of money.
No.
Like, oh, we got something here.
And now they took what a great slogan, a great concept, and a great idea. And the other thing is, you got to have, people that really have a passion and a heart for your community, and all skin folk and kinfolk. And we done said that 1,000,001 times. You got all these people we got Reconstruction Negroes, as my mama called them last week. She said these Reconstruction Negroes. And baby,
y'all ain't getting off the hook. Y'all not getting off the hook tonight.
That affects.
Y'all not getting off the hook tonight. Not you two on that side of the screen, because I remember when we had these conversations about Black Lives Matter, and I said, did y'all ever go and actually read what was actually involved in all of those articles with corporations? I said, I seen the Trojan horse back then.
It's a lot.
Going back to listen, I have no, and that's the brilliance of it, because again,
it was marketing.
Took us black struggle, it took our emotions.
Yeah.
Our ignorance, and everything's always about money. And then they was about to they got money, and they was about to push an agenda right through with the whole Black Lives Matter thing.
Yeah.
And second of all, Trey, I commend you for saying that you swallowed the pill, because you know what? I think that one thing black people don't do, what Dr. Umar doesn't do, we didn't recognize that most of our advancements came through allies.
Yes.
You're gonna have the white. You cannot be disenfranchised and oppressed and not take the help from allies. So most of the time and that's where he goes wrong at. Like, brother, it might have been a white man that had some white guilt that was gonna give him $5 million. And
but we talked about that. But Horace, we talked about that not last year, before, with the George Floyd thing. We talked about Jane Fonda and how she's always been an ally, and she's still doing it. And people like that who have always come alongside. But I think that, again, you can be so militant that you're a turnoff. I think that that's part of the problem. I think that when we talk about Black masculinity as a whole, I think that sometimes it becomes so aggressive and so over the top that is not border toxic. It is toxic. And so now it's not really masculinity. It's just you being a toxic man. You're just being toxic. You're just being toxic overall.
When it's all said and done, it's like I'll always be pro-black. I never want to be so pro-black that I'm a shitty person, that I'm a shitty being. The fact that, okay, you're so black, you've lost your humanity. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I know it's cliche to say that, I'm pro-black, I'm not anti-white. I know that's extremely cliche, but at the end of the day, it's like, when you deal with militant people who really look down upon you and call you a coon and symbol because you're not barking or snarling at white people every time you walk by, it's like, bro, I understand you pro-black and everything, but you're just not a good person at all. Like, you're not a great person. Yeah, you black, and you watch Umar Reels all day, but you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Call me Sambo.
Lincoln, but you're an asshole, my nigga.
Call me Sambo, though. That's when I'm slam somebody. You call me Sambo. I take the Uncle Tom. You call me Sambo, bro. You might get the clip.
Well, and just thinking about everything, thinking about just division and toxic masculinity and just being toxic, as a mindset coach, I focus on trauma, and there's so much trauma in our community, and that I feel like that leads to, of course, the toxicity, the division, as well as the decisions. Bringing up Black Lives Matter and the way the money is handled. I mean, there's a whole money mindset, and there's trauma. Like if you've never had anything, you finally get something, then it's your power, but you don't know how to manage it. So there's so many things that can be connected to trauma. And then our trauma is generational. Like we talked about the homicide, the slave ship. And I can't remember who said it in the comments, but how they broke Black men in slavery, because it's like we only need you all to work. We don't need you to speak. We don't need you to lead. We don't need you to have power. We don't need you as part of your families. We need you to, help us procreate and then put you in the fields, and that's all you're going to be worth. And from that, of course, there's been different levels of that since slavery has ended, but with that comes trauma. And until we take that time to really step into ourselves as individuals, as communities, as families, and say, why? And I always tell people when I'm working with them, ask why. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? Why do you have these beliefs? Are these truth? Like we talked about feelings. Feelings are not facts. Why are you doing this? Where is this coming from? Is this truly your truth, or are you repeating what you're saying? Or are you acting out of your fear? Are you acting out of your pain? Are you acting out of the fact that you're scared someone's going to take something from you? So you're going to be proactive and making sure that they don't get it, or I'm going to get them before they get me. And that's a lot. There's so much of a mixture of that in our community. And then when you look at it, it's like, always wonder, how can we become a collective? How can we bring our money into our community? How can we grow? How can we gain that power? Well, we can't if we can't even come together. And it brings me to this post that I saw actually earlier today, where someone basically said, Black men and Black women need to stay away from each other unless you're talking about being productive or starting a business. And so many people agree, and others disagree, because they're like, this is an extinction. But I'm like, we kind of heading down that road of extinction.
That's it.
We're already going there.
Anyway. So it's like, where can we come together? How do we come together? And, there are, just even looking at the socioeconomic status of the different Blacks within our community, we don't intermingle with each other. So there is no, I'm going to have this and I'm going to bring my people on, because the truth is you can bring people on, and because of that trauma, you may have some people who may try to take, or, that person who has that power, they don't want to share it, or they have this vision of, I'm better than who I was. I don't want to be part of that struggle, and I'm going to separate myself and cut it off, and I'm only going to deal with those people who can help me gain more power. So there's so much division on so many levels, and it stems from so many places, and I don't even know what the answer is of us moving forward so we can address this toxic masculinity, because on the other end you have women who are in their toxic trauma, and they're reacting in a reactive way, and like, where can we have that sit down, that conversation, that come together, that, growth, that evolution, where we can finally move from this place. So that's it.
Yeah, we got sisters. We got sisters, because I ain't lying to you, because can we just be real? Paula just hit something. She better preach up in here tonight. Yeah. But the truth is, sisters be contributing to the problem, that to why Black men don't feel masculine. Why this whole emasculation of Black men? Some of it is women. Some of it is Black women, because I said it earlier. My niece was like, "You preaching," because we half don't know what we want because we're double-minded. We want a masculine man, but then we don't want to be too mad. We want him to be compassionate and loving and romantic, like in the Notebook. But then he like that. Oh, he ain't masculine enough. And then, girl, what you want? Go sit down. You're doing too much.
You know what? And that's
and then you don't qualify for the kind of man that you want. So go sit somewhere and get yourself together, because the man that you want, you a problem. You a whole problem for that man. Like, can we be real? So until you
that's
get
why
yourself
I quit
together,
trying a long time ago. I quit trying.
Let me ask you something though. Listen, I would say our recipe, women, listen, I apologize to some women on the show one time. They told me, we don't want your damn apology. I said, okay, well, okay.
Damn, that was a trauma response.
Yeah, I know, right? So black women are hurt, but I think we have to come up with a recipe for advancement. Like, black women and men need to understand, like, this is a blueprint. At some point, we're going to get to a point where we're exhausted and somebody's going to say, okay, the shit ain't working. The division ain't working. But I want to say this on behalf of men. So I'm glad she used the word extinction. From my everyday brothers, a lot of men feel like they going extinct. This whole new era in life is foreign to them. You know what I'm saying? So when you see the scenario, and we're going to ask women what they want, we will see quotes every day, and especially from some of the sorriest heifers I know, will say, I can be in one, if he's masculine, I can be in my feminine energy.
I hate that. Oh
my God, bro. Geez, that's all I'm going to say.
I can't. As much as I've seen that, I can't.
Yeah,
no, definitely.
I teach on, like, in my groups, I teach on stepping into your feminine energy, because there's a masculine feminine balance that we all have.
Yeah.
And the key is you have to be able to step into your feminine energy no matter what, but you have to be able to have that balance. Nobody else, no external force, no environment should dictate if you have it. You always possess it. You might need to bring in your masculine energy to have your boundaries in place when you have those threats of those people who are toxic or don't have your best interest. But we definitely have to have that balance and not let other people dictate. So, Horace, to your statement of, he's got to be masculine for me to be feminine. No, you need to learn how to be feminine on your own as an individual, no matter what. So when no man is around, you can step into that. And there's going to be times you need to step into your masculine to get things done, because it's all about, that energy and that balance. But, we've got to break that mindset of, I will be this if he will do this, or I will be this if she will do this, because as long as we're having that mindset, we're going to be stuck, because you're going to be waiting for someone else to be a certain way for you to be reactive. And then once again, that whole reaction, it all stems back to our trauma.
Yeah.
I agree.
Paula better talk up in here.
I think what Paula just said kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier when we were talking about toxic masculinity. I think that is a form of toxic femininity, because I know for some people they feel like there is no such thing as toxic femininity. I'm like, no, actually there is. I'm in ringside. I see it every day. Because again, I'm glad I haven't had this experience. I've seen it, of course, on social media, but I'm glad I haven't had the unfortunate experience of talking with a young lady who would express to me that I have to pay all the bills in order for her to be in her natural self. I'm glad I don't have that experience face to face, because my first gut reaction would be, bitch.
Talk, Trey.
My whole is like, but that is a popular ethos that is all over social media now. A man got to pay all the bills so I can be feminine, be in my natural feminine. I'm like, then lady, you're not naturally feminine. You're just an actress. You know what I mean?
You are dependent. You are dependent.
You are a dependent.
And I need to write you off on my taxes.
Right. I'm like, yeah, if I'm paying, be damn right. I'm like, I'm gonna get some money off. If I'm paying all the bills, damn it.
That's a Jedi mind trick to me, but
I think that this
I said that a long time ago. I said it's Jedi mind trick.
Yeah, it's Jedi mind.
This is that narrative, though. This is that narrative that is out there, that society.
But why does it work though, Dr. Hughes?
What?
Because a lot of brothers, we looking for validation, we looking for your affirmation, and we fall into that set rule. God damn, we ain't jail like this in a while. God damn it, we preach.
But I mean, I think that's part of the problem, though. But you got to step away from that narrative that's been created, because back to Paula's point about that, but you got to have balance. So, I want to hit on what Paula said about that balance between masculine and feminine energy. When it comes to a man and your feminine energy, that comes into play when you're being compassionate with your woman and giving her a listening ear and all that kind of stuff. Ladies, when you want your man to be compassionate and romantic, that's his feminine energy. That's about the extent that you're going to get. And it's going to come in the way that he gives it to you. You cannot dictate how a man expresses compassion and love and romance and all of that stuff to you. So if you don't like it, then you need to go find somebody that's gonna match what you're looking for. So it goes back to what I used to say all the time: date at your level. Find somebody that matches what you look, matches your fly, matches your personality, matches your love language in the way that you feel like you need, because you can't tell somebody how to love you in their like it don't work that way. I can't force Horace to love me in my love language when it's not his natural, but I can teach him. But it's reciprocal, because I got to love him in his language. I can't say, if his love language is touch and mine is affirmations, we have to come together and have a conversation about what that looks like so that we can love each other properly, because otherwise it's going to be a constant disconnect. So that doesn't mean that because I prefer affirmation to touch, that, touch don't always mean sex. It just might mean rub my head. It might mean hold my hand. It might mean some part of you at some point is touching me. Give me a hug, something. But I think that when we're talking about Black masculinity and Troy talking about toxic femininity, we got to come together, like Horace said, as Black men and Black women. We really do. And just for y'all who might be new to the show, Horace always champions Black love as in the Black family. He really does. I think that we do need to come together and have a conversation about what this looks like for us. And I think every generation, I think that Tendaji said, and I appreciate you for saying this and bringing up generations. I think that every generation has a different expectation. And what we're seeing on social media is a mix of all these different generations and perspectives. I think there's an evolution. And how do we have conversation around the evolution of Black love, Black family, Black thought, Blackness overall? Because with every generation, there's new technology, there's new perspectives, there's a different climate. What children and generations are growing up in now is not what we grew up in. So you're talking about this is a conversation of 70s babies, okay? So we grew up in a whole different era, and what Black love and Black family looked like, and revolution and all that stuff was different. And we're seeing it over time. And I think that we need to have constant conversation about the evolution of Black thought, Black family, Black masculinity, Black love, Black everything. Because if we don't, this extinction level event that we're already on is going to steamroll like that train that exploded up in Ohio. It's just like a train with toxic chemicals. When it crashes, it's going to boom, blow up. And then it's like, okay, who do we have to blame? We have to, as a community, take accountability for what's happening with the narrative, because the narrative is creating the environment that we're seeing. Words create environment. That narrative is creating environment. That's how you got city girls and city boys and all this nonsense that we got going on, because somebody spoke a narrative. I don't care if it was in the music, in the movies, in the hood, but around the way. I mean, Horace and I grew up in the raw. We hear all kinds of stuff all the time. So, but we have to take authority, because we can, over the narrative. And I think that that's what it begins. That's what we need. The question is, what does that look like in action? You know what I'm saying? It's the mobilization from here, because I think that we have an idea of what it takes. The question now is, what are the steps to get there, to start controlling that narrative against all of the other noise that's out there? Because that's really all it is, a bunch of noise. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we're going to close up, you guys, but I want to hear from everybody, you guys' closing thoughts on what we talked about tonight, as far as like Black masculinity in particular, and what it's going to take for us as a community to really express what that is, what it isn't, and how we control that narrative, because I believe that it's up to us as a community. We allow outside communities too much to dictate Blackness.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with our emotions. We respond to our emotions. We're playing defense. At some point, as Black people, as a community, we got to be on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start playing offense. I'm sorry, because I mean we so much on the deep. We're so reactive that it's like you can write a book. You can you know what I'm saying, like you can schedule it and know that we're gonna react, and people can figure out economically how to get us to react and respond a certain way and check. But we got to start being proactive so that we can stop that cycle. And it's really up to us. We really got to start doing that, but we got to figure out how to make that happen. So I don't know who wants to go first, but somebody jump in and go ahead and give your closing thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep it short, but I think bottom line is we just have to normalize healthy masculinity, normalize receiving it, normalize what it looks like, normalize that it's going to be different for different people. Like, you know, it's not, everyone's not the same, so everyone's not cookie cutter. So, you know, one man's masculinity may be slightly different from another man's masculinity because he is his own unique individual.
Yeah.
And until we start normalizing that and understanding, you know, everyone has their own expression, we're going to be stuck. But it's all about normalizing.
I agree.
Well, I would just say you guys were phenomenal tonight. I just applaud you. You know, without you, there's no me. But we do definitely need to see value in each other. Everyone, I mean, the day-to-day struggles in life, I think even in the midst of that, we have to recognize everyone has plights. We need to see our value in each other, and I want us to. Black men want to be heard, women want to be heard, and I think we need to learn to, even if we disagree, to respectfully hear each other.
Yeah.
And I think when people don't feel heard, that's when you get tension. So
Yeah.
let's learn to. I don't have to agree, but let's have enough intimate conversations that we start to build a bridge through some of those conversations and get to understanding what each party is really asking for. And I think once we start to trust each other more with our differences and our thoughts, then you can truly see that we are more allies than we are enemies.
Yeah.
Hey, Horse Towns, thank you.
I agree. Trey, amazing.
Well, damn, I don't know if I have anything too amazing to
I
close
was
out.
Trey tonight. I want to say that.
I believe you were. Y'all just kind of just.
Yeah, we switched somehow. I don't know what happened, but we switched. But I'm definitely feeling Horace tonight. So Horace, my dude tonight.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, I do agree that as Black people, we need to be more. We need to do more critical thinking and be more aggressive when it comes to our political strengths, our monetary strengths, education, so on and so forth, and see the value. There is, you know, immense value in unity versus division.
Yeah.
I think the issue is not enough of us know that. Not enough of us see the appeal and see the benefit. There's more. So for some people, the gain is in the division. The gain is to remain separated, remain, you know, autonomous and not a collective. Because I do think Black men and Black women need one another. I do celebrate wholeheartedly Black love. I will, though I'm not a fan of the organization, institution, not as much. I still have some hope for Black Lives Matter, but they really should have. They really dropped the ball on that. But I will continue to say that Black Lives Matter. I will continue to say that Black family matters, Black love matters. But also, and for the point of this conversation, Black masculinity matters a lot. Black masculinity is not in and of itself toxic. It is what it is the foundation to me of why we're all here. One of the biggest reasons why it is a foundation because, you know, it has always been side by side symbiotic with Black femininity.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't need, so I think this whole campaign we got, you know, trying to demonize masculinity, we just need to shut that shit off right now. Okay. Toxic masculinity, yes, it is a such thing. I mean, we all need to be in agreement exactly what that looks like and not, you know, because at the end of the day, a man, a Black man being masculine, that is nothing toxic about that. But there are some toxic men posing as masculine alpha males, which is complete bullshit. Yo, I definitely appreciate, as always, Dr. H and the black ass conversation. I think tonight we just had black ass church, uh, because a lot of preaching going on, but no collection plate going around. But it's all good. I don't have cash on me. Like I said, all I got right now is a wallet full of Bitcoin. But yeah, no, tonight's Black Ass Church was on point. Conversation that definitely needed to happen. And yeah, I hope people were paying attention. I hope people, gained some insight. And yeah, I think we kicked some ass tonight.
Yeah.
We're all rock stars tonight.
Absolutely. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This was a great conversation. And I want to end on the note, before I logged on, I saw this video, and I don't know if it was on IG or Twitter, where somebody recorded a video of Black men getting flowers, literal flowers, and them receiving those flowers and the emotion that they express. And I love it, because I think that we do need to learn to give Black men flowers every day. Like, we need to appreciate them, whether it's physically giving them flowers or it's metaphorical, but we do need to uplift Black men, put your arms around them, affirm them. There's enough negativity against Black men. We don't need to contribute to it. Now, I'm not talking about accountability. When you're wrong, but we do need to give Black men their flowers. And I think that it's, and then there was this picture of Black men showing affection, but they were showing, it was old pictures. It was pictures of like Michael Jordan and, Pippen and all of them, like old pictures of athletes and different and just and musicians and stuff, just Black men loving on other Black men. And there was nothing effeminate or gay about it. It was just them showing affection to uplift themselves and each other. And I think that that's what we need to see more of. We do need to, like Paula said, we need to normalize masculinity in all of its different forms and versions, and see it more, and not through effeminate lenses, not through any type of lens of judgment or agenda or anything like that. But we need to accept what it is, because Black men do need love. Black men need to be appreciated. They need to be loved, valued, and appreciated just like anybody else. And until we do that and we take control of that in our own community, we can't expect other people to do it. So we have to model what we expect other people to do for our people, because we can't look for anybody else to love our Black men like us. And it starts within our community, and not judging all the time, but really taking an open point of view and say, you know what, this is a Black man, whether he's hurting or not, he deserves to be heard. He deserves his feelings are valid. And then that way we help each other through it. That's what I grew up in. That's the era that I understand, and I think that that's what we need. It might be a little old-fashioned, but I think we need a little old-fashioned, especially as it relates to Black masculinity, and seeing it more and normalizing it, so that we can have that more and more and more and more. And so we appreciate y'all for tuning in to this very ultra Black conversation tonight. We was blackity black. It ain't Black History Month, it's Women's History Month, but baby, we was blackity black, extra black tonight, and I appreciate it. I am rocking my ski gear. This is ski. And so I do appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. 2 more weeks, we're gonna have another conversation. It's probably gonna be blackity black too. It's just so y'all know. But we are gonna talk about collective Black grief, and not from perspective of just grieving and sorrow, but just how much grief that we consume as a community, and what it's doing to us as a community of Black people, what it's doing to the Black family structure, what is happening to our relationships. Because when you consume a lot of death and grief and sorrow, it does affect your relationships. Please don't think it's not, because it is. It's affecting your sex life, because it's affecting you, because it's weighing on you. It affects that face Trey made. Just
y'all already know I'm Catholic. I'm a virgin. Saving myself.
Yeah.
What y'all talking about? Y'all some heathens.
Good night, because we know better.
I know the value of my junk.
Not the memory mauler. Not the memory mauler.
I like this tray. Yeah.
I ain't said that in so long.
I like this tray.
I am
not the memory mauler.
A memory mauler from Memphis and Morehouse. This was definitely a Black ass conversation. This was lemon pepper with a side of red velvet cake. Yeah.
with some cornbread
Everything.
and sweet tea.
Some hard ass and cornbread. Like, damn. This was definitely for the culture. So
We appreciate y'all. We're gonna see y'all hopefully in 2 weeks. Come back and join us. Get in on the conversation, like, share. Let everybody know that we're back and we're having conversations. We getting in there, baby. We getting in there. We here to change lives and change our community. We gonna control this narrative and figure out how we gonna keep it fire on the Black hand side. Always, always, always. Love y'all, and we'll see y'all next time. Good night.
Good night.